not sure you'd like lemon. Should we try you with a bit? Bit of lemon juice there. See if you like it. Some more? No. So me and my glamorous assistant here are very excited because we are all, including Sean who's behind the camera, but we're all off to Europe in a couple of weeks' time. Now of course this is around the time that Brexit is happening, so this is everything that we know at the moment about what Brexit is going to mean for your furry friends and pet travel. We're going to try and make this as easy as possible.
You're cheating, are you, using that?
Well, yeah, I know that I can make cakes and all sorts of things, but I just couldn't be bothered. So I thought I'd just buy some pancake mix from Sainsbury's. It was on offer. You just fill it with water and then you've got pancakes. And I don't need big furry noses helping me. Give it a good shake. What are you looking at? At the moment we don't really know what's going on with Brexit, regardless of your political views. We're not going to go into that here, but regardless of that, we're all going to have to take this into account if you want to take your pets over to Europe. So there are 3 scenarios to Brexit at the moment and pet travel. Okay, so option number 1 is that everything pretty much stays the same as it is now. So at the moment Bentley would need his European pet passport, and then you'd have to check out with your local vet what that involves. So generally that involves a health check and a rabies vaccination that the vet has to sign off. So that's option number 1. Again, I would always check with your vet and the Gov website, which we're going to put the link in the description. So option number 2 is slightly more complicated than the first option. It means we become a listed Part 2 third country. So that's all to do with European regulation and how they view our country when it comes to pets and their travel throughout that. So that basically means that you would need the European pet passport still. On top of that, you need a model health certificate, and a qualified vet would have to give that to you. Now you need to do that within 10 days of the date that you're travelling. So not 10 days before, but within the 10-day period before you travel, you have to get this model health certificate. That is to do with the rabies vaccination and a few other things as well that will go into that health certificate. Again, get in contact with your vet. If they are a travel specialist, they will know exactly what we're talking about here, but it's something you need to ask for. So that health certificate is valid for 10 days after the date of issue. So within that 10-day period after it's been issued to you, you can travel into the EU. Not after that, not before that. So it's got to be within that 10-day period. Once you've left and gone into the EU, it's valid for 4 months. So it's not actually valid for that long at all, really, unlike the current EU passport, which is valid for a year. So that's something to bear in mind. If you travel again within the same year or after the 4-month period, you have to get the health certificate again. It's worth also noting that you would have to go with your pet to what is called a traveller's point of entry. Now it depends what method you're using to travel. Say you're using the Eurotunnel or something along those sorts of lines, they will have that point of entry the other side, so that would be relatively easy, but it's just something to bear in mind. Ask who you're travelling with. That's a really good way of doing it. They all have the information on the website, and of course after Brexit we will know a lot more, but currently if it is a type 2 situation, that would be a requirement. Yummy. So are you like me and a roller Or are you a flat pancake eater? Vote in the top corner up here, let us know. Now option number 3 is probably where I'm going to burn the pancake here, because it's quite a lengthy option and it's the one that we have made sure that Bentley is entirely accountable for, just because if this is sort of like a worst case scenario. So this would be if the UK was an unlisted country in that list that I was talking about earlier. So an unlisted third country. Now this is fairly unlikely, but you just never know, so it's the best option to cover you for absolutely everything. Now I might have to refer to this occasionally because it's important to get this right, and again I can't reiterate enough that you need to speak to your vet or check out the Gov website, that will explain things. I'll also put a link in the description to the companion care options, because that explains these 3 options in a very similar way to what I've done, because that's the reference that I'm using for this, so you can actually see a readable version of it. But let's get into it. Firstly, they would still need their European pet passport. That would need to be done. The next thing they need to do is they need to ensure that they have the rabies vaccination. Now that rabies vaccination actually needs to be tested, so they need their blood tested to make sure that the vaccination has worked. And this is called the antibody titer test. I hope I said it right. So that has to be done, the blood test has to be done a month after they have had their rabies vaccination, and that is to check that the antibody is there in their bloodstream. Now it's worth noting that this test is actually a really sort of slim line to pass, basically. That's why they say it has to be after 30 days, but not really much longer than that. Now Bentley had his about 2 months after and he still passed his, thankfully, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. I'd say the best time to do it is 30 days after they've had their rabies vaccination. So this blood test will come back and it will say whether the antibody is present in the dog or the cat, and in that case then they will be covered for the rabies thing. But the next thing to note is the date of that blood test is taken. You cannot travel for 3 months after that. So it takes 3 months. So it's kind of like a quarantine period, because there is no blood test to check that a dog doesn't have rabies. The only way that you can check a dog hasn't got rabies is by checking the brain, unfortunately, once they're deceased. So that's out. So the blood test is literally just to check the antibody in their bloodstream. So that 3 month period is kind of like a quarantine period, just to check that they definitely don't have rabies. So you kind of do the quarantine in your own country as opposed to going to another country. I'm just going to flip the pancake before it starts to burn. Oh my god, this is my favourite stuff ever. Lotus Biscoff spread. This is the smooth one. I do like the crunchy one as well, but they didn't have it, so I had to buy the smooth one. But yummy. So once the results of the blood test have come back and that they have shown that the antibody is at the correct level in the dog's bloodstream, you have to wait that 3 month period before you can take them away. That means that they have to do the quarantine period basically in the country that you're already residing in, as opposed to doing a quarantine period prior to bringing them back, that kind of thing. What will happen once you get that blood test result and it's good is that they will write it into your European pet passport. It has to be a specific type of vet, it can't just be any vet. Now if unfortunately they haven't studied hard enough and they fail the blood test, what you have to do is you have to have yet another rabies vaccine. You then have to wait another 30 days before you can get the blood test done again. So that's something to bear in mind. It might be a while since they've had the rabies jab, as a result the antibody maybe isn't as present in the bloodstream. So that's just something to bear in mind. It doesn't mean anything like that they have rabies, it just means that the antibody isn't as present. So they'd have to have another rabies vaccine, wait another 30 days and then have another blood test, and then again after that blood test you have to wait the 3 month minimum period before you can travel with your dog. So this option takes about 4 months to complete, which is a very long time. you have to really think in advance of your travel date in order to make sure that you've got everything in place for when your dog is travelling. Like I say, thankfully Bentley has passed his test. It's been at least 3 months now since his blood test, so he's all good to travel. We're still going to get a model health certificate in case he requires that as well. So we're getting that within 10 days of our travel date, and that will be done at a suitably registered vet. So, I hope you've learnt something from those 3 options. There are far more detailed instructions of what all of these mean on the internet. We will put all the links in the description to this. Please check them out if you're planning on taking your dog or cat or animal abroad after the Brexit deal on the 29th of March. So it's really important to make sure that you check up on that. Please speak to your vet. They should know plenty about this deal as well, especially once the 29th of March has passed. We should know a lot more about it as well, so check up then to make sure that there's stuff in place. Of course, you can just wait to see what happens on the 29th of March and then reevaluate whether you want to take your pet abroad, what you need to do about that. But these are the options that you need to cover yourself now if you are planning to do it fairly soon. Obviously you've got 4 months really, realistically, between when you find out about this and setting everything in place. So it's really important to make sure that you speak to your vet and check on the Gov website, and I've got other links in the description that really easily explain these things to you as well. But I hope it's been really useful to you. What do you think, Bentley? The thing is, it's going to be great taking him abroad, and I cannot wait to do it. And I know it sounds complicated, but it actually isn't, and there's plenty of people out there to try and help you. So especially this video, at least you know about it. That's one of the biggest things, just knowing about it in the first place. That's a really big step, because they haven't really widely told people about this. So at least now you know, and you can be prepared. And he is going to absolutely love Europe, aren't you? You're going to love it out there. It's going to be so much fun. It is! So, I hope it's been useful. Put in your comments if you found it useful, or if you found something else that's really useful information, and we'll try and tag them in the top so that other people, if they've got the information, we can kind of start as a bit of a thread just so that you have that wealth of knowledge. So thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you very soon. Say bye, Bentley. Say bye. Do high five. Do high five. Yeah!